Hello, hello, hello out there in internet land. It is your two favorite?
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. The two people you tolerate on the internet. It's Fat and Angry. He's fat and I'm angry. And today we're going to talk about nothing in particular. It's going to be a random subject episode because we couldn't think of any one subject to talk about. So we're just going to shoot random thoughts out there until we get bored.
Yeah. And on a special note, this is the first episode where we actually have an episode loaded on the internet, so we don't have to speak in this as a hypothetical or past term anymore.
Yes, congratulations to us. I finally got sick and tired of procrastinating, and I finally got off my ass, put together an episode, edited it, threw it out on the internet, and once again I'm quickly reminded how much I fucking hate my own goddamn voice. Jesus Christ, I hate the sound of my voice so fucking bad.
So right now we're up to 2 subscribers, which is probably us. 3 thumbs up, which is more than
we
us.
are.
So thank you for whoever did that. And 22 views, which I assume at least 7 are us. So thank you for those who.
Well, does it count like all the people who viewed, or does it count repeated views from the same person?
I think it counts repeated views. I don't know. I'll log in like 4 times tonight and see what happens, and then
I don't have the energy to just sit there and watch our own fucking episode over and over and over again.
Well, I'm not gonna watch the whole thing. I'm just gonna log in, check it, log out, log back.
I wonder how many people like us who are just starting YouTube have actually done this. First you make the episode, then you spend the first week before you load the second episode just rewatching your same fucking episode to try to boost your numbers so that just maybe it'll start showing up when people search this shit.
Well, it wouldn't be about boosting the numbers. It's just keeping track of where we're getting.
Because honestly, I had to make a second profile just so that we could go ahead and a fat and angry profile. I upload the episode. I need to edit the second one and get that uploaded because we got plenty of episodes already recorded. The problem is just editing them into episodes and putting them up on YouTube. But it is August 7th. Yes, we finally have an episode up. Fat and Angry is online for the first time. Yay! Woo! Oh, thank God. We finally got this big fat lethargic rocket off and into orbit.
Took about a year.
Almost, because according to the files I was looking at, the first recording we did was damn near January or February of this year. So, 8 months. 7 or 8 months. But, yeah. Congratulations for us. Now that we actually got this thing online, now we actually have to start making episodes for realsies, at least once a week, hopefully.
Well,
but we got a backlog to act as a buffer, so at least we got that going for it. It just give you guys there listening an idea of the kind of shit that if you haven't already started your YouTube accounts, the kind of shit you got to worry about at the get-go. What the fuck am I saying? Everyone's got a goddamn YouTube account now.
Yeah, but they don't always load videos on it.
Yeah, true. Most of them do. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Some of the most viral hits are someone recording their cat sneezing or something like that.
Yeah, we're in the wrong demographic.
Well, you hate your cat, and my dogs are not photogenic.
I do not hate my cat. My cat's just an asshole. There's a difference.
Well, it's a cat. There's kind of a 1-to-1 ratio between that.
I have had some wonderful cats. Granted,
Prove it. You got evidence?
I'll have to dig her up.
I mean, photos, jackass.
No, most of my photos burnt up in the fire of Portland.
Yeah. Yeah, every time you tell me that, it just makes me depressed. Well, more depressed. All right, so yes, that's first news. We finally got our episode uploaded. That's good. We got that off the ground. I've noticed a lot of my friends that said that a lot of my online friends asked them, hey, can you check it out? And they're like, sure. Once it's uploaded, I've noticed that some of them Or like, oh, I like one of them said in particular, oh, I don't watch videos that are under like 300 subscriptions. I'm like, what? What kind of fucking nonsense is that? It's like it's not going to get up to 300 subscriptions if no one fucking watches it. Help contribute to that. You need to help it grow.
Our podcast is like a potential tree. Okay, maybe not a tree, a stinkweed, but everybody's got to cry on it before it gets anywhere.
Yeah, it's like we've gotten this thing to sprout from like a dead
moose,
or like a dead little like hopeless seed to like a sad little sprout, but like we can only water it so much with our tears and sweat and depression.
Dialysis takes most of my fluid away, so I can only cry so much on
it. It's like, yeah, you have to keep what little fluids you have before they get like siphoned out of you and put through the colander.
Yeah, they're taking the gravy away.
Don't let them take our gravy away.
I go to Texas Roadhouse and get my gravy back.
Texas Roadhouse. That's one thing. I've noticed that I was listening to Game Grumps the other day, and they mentioned something that apparently they're not familiar with Texas Roadhouse. They said that they went to a steak shop or like a steakhouse where they had like peanuts everywhere, and the idea that they had like peanuts and peanut shells everywhere baffled them. I'm like, now for us, that's no big deal because we have a Texas Roadhouse here. It's like being in Texas is like we've only had the Texas Roadhouse for about 10 years or less. Maybe about 10 years. And so before then, well, we just had actual steakhouses in Texas. This is an actual franchise chain called Texas Roadhouse, and they got to have them in places other than Texas. I think they're like up to Oklahoma and along the south and whatnot.
I think there's one in New York.
Yeah, there might be. I mean, they're a franchise. They can build that shit anywhere they want. But the thing is that people up north aren't familiar with is the idea of like the whole steakhouse motif, and one of the things is like peanuts. Now, Texas Roadhouse is the only one I know that currently does this. I've heard of other steakhouses around the state that used to do this back in the day, which is where like like while you're waiting to be seated, or even while you're at your table, if you don't. Like most steakhouses, like, here's some bread and some butter so you can, like, get bread and butter or rolls or something like that. But if you're not a bread guy, like, oh, I'm trying to stay away from carbs. If you're that kind of person, then they have peanuts there. And usually they keep them in, like, these tin buckets.
Yeah, they're like little tin water buckets.
Like filled with peanuts.
Yeah. And one thing that I've always found amusing is, like, the times I've gone, I always end up with one friend that's, like, trying to be polite and not put the shells on the floor. And then when the waitress comes by and sees this neat little pile of shells, she just sweeps them onto the floor.
It's like, fuck your pile. On the floor goes, because, like, yeah, it's like, it's common for them to just, like, the idea is, you peel the shell off, you eat your peanut, and you just discard the shells on the floor. Now, some people would like think, ew, that's disgusting. It's like everything is like, well, for one thing, it's made to look like a steakhouse, so the building can be brick or steel, but the inside and the outside looks like it's made out of like wood, like a fucking log cabin style.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to have that old Southern Texas steakhouse look. Now, like I said, they're probably like a combination of brick and steel for the actual structure. They're not going to build a fucking restaurant out of nothing but wood. Because, like, structural integrity and all that. But, like, yeah, so it's got that wood motif. And what they do at the end of the night, they just sweep up all the shells. And occasionally during the day, they'll just have someone, like, go through and sweep up as many of the shells as they can. Because otherwise, like, you'd be slogging through, like, ankle-deep, like, shells, almost as if you're, like, in some sort of weird Mr. Peanut version of World War I, slogging through the trenches and mud. But instead of mud and trenches, it's, like, wooden booths and peanut shells. Like, I overheard them talking about it, and they're like, there's like, no, they couldn't do that. It's like, yeah, they do.
Yeah, well, the peanut shells themselves, they're not a health hazard, because you don't eat them. You break them open.
It's like now, if it was common, like, like fucking sunflower seeds, I know that some people with sunflower seeds, they pop the seeds into their mouths, they chew them up, and they spit out the shells.
Yeah.
That would be more of a health issue.
Or, like watermelon spitting the seeds all over the floor. that would be an issue. But,
Because then, like, it's like, I don't even know what would be more of the health issue, the watermelon seeds on the floor or all the spit. Because, that's what you want, like, slogging through, like, like a visible layer of saliva on the ground. Then nothing helps you build up an appetite more than that.
That actually reminds me of one restaurant I worked at. It had the biggest health hazard I had ever seen in a restaurant. In the back area, because the store was 24/7 and so high volume, they just kind of had like a gutter with some grating over it, so like you could sweep and mop everything into this gutter, and the gutter just led directly outside into a sewer pit.
Interesting.
And there was nothing dividing the outside world from this gutter.
I would imagine that would lead to issues at certain points.
Just like every now and then they have somebody dump some boiling water in there in case, like some insects decided they wanted to be hungry, so it kills the insects.
Is it just me, or do I see like little grabby hands like trying to reach out from that gutter thing? I was like, oh, you just gotta stomp them down just to make sure. You gotta stomp them down, make sure they don't come up and shit.
Yeah, the chuds, when they start to look
fucking chuds.
Just pour some hot nacho cheese down there.
Yeah, take that, you fucker. Teach you to come above ground. There's laws against that. I saw Futurama.
Yeah, go back down with the mole people, you fuckers.
The mole people.
The mole people and chuds.
The great eugenics war between the mole people and the chuds. And eventually there's became they can get like the battle of the five armies. You can get the chuds, the mole people, the crab people, the ant people, and then the subterranean lizards. That could be like some fucked up underground version of the battle of the five armies from The Hobbit.
Oh, now I gotta run Gamma World, yeah. Choose your faction, fuckers.
Choose your faction, fuckers. I want to see a game, like a strategy game, where like literally at the beginning, instead of like, pick your army or like, pick the race you want to play as, it just says, pick your faction, fuckers.
I guess we'll go with the chuds.
Why hasn't someone done that? Like, I've seen, like, I know there's a market out there for comedy games. Like, one of the comedy games out there is called Death Spank, which is like, it's a spoof on, like, a lot of those, like, dungeon crawling, loot-based RPGs, like Diablo.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the hero is, like, this square-chinned guy who's just, like, everything he says is just, like, laced with sarcasm. It's like, I must protect the weak and the lazy.
Oh, so he's got to protect the chuds. Oh no, wait, that would be the mole people.
But like
the chuds are productive.
There is this one MMO that one of our mutual friends was playing, and I was watching him play it. I don't remember the name of it, and I don't think it's around anymore. But like it was also comedy based. Like one of the early NPCs is a market stall keeper, and when you come up to him, like just the shit he says is like, "Oh God, it's you again." Like, what do you want? And it's like, are you still here? And like some of the loot you got, like if you ever play like some of the older like MMOs, like EverQuest or World of Warcraft. It's like World of Warcraft's been around for a long time now. When you first start the games, a lot of the loot you get is just garbage. It's like, tattered boots, like, worn rags. It's essentially like equipment that is so crap that it doesn't give you any benefits, and the only reason it drops is that you have like shit you can sell for a little bit of copper here and there. That like, that way you can get a little bit of scratch money here and there. It's just so that when you're killing things, you don't end up like they drop nothing and then you have nothing to sell, so you're constantly poor. So in this game, to kind of make fun of that, like a lot of the loot drops early on were like, the boots of good for nothing but selling, the wand of uselessness, the helmet of pawning. It's like this is like it knew exactly what it was, and it had no problems of letting you fucking know. It's like, yes, this is the starting ship that you don't equip, you just sell it.
I remember back in the second edition D&D, me and my friends, we had this article we made, and we put it on the internet. I don't know how popular it was, but it was called Tums, Totally Useless Mage Spells. Like transmute rock to stone, identify rock or stone.
Transmute rock to stone. Congratulations, you no longer have rocks blocking your way. Now your pathway is blocked by huge stones. That is the most bullshit useless spell I've ever heard. It's a semantic spell. It's like, I thought these are rocks, so if you look very closely, you can see that they're clearly stones.
I'm not so sure let's cast Identify Rock or Stone.
Is it metamorphic? We need to find out.
But, yeah, that was something we did.
Do you remember some of the other spells?
Animate bread.
Now that I can imagine useful, like if you wanted to just like make something to distract a monster. It's like you got like a loaf of bread that's just like worming its
around like a caterpillar.
I can imagine that could at least be I can imagine that could at least be like a source of like distraction. But like I can imagine like that also be like good for like playing tricks on people. Like someone's like someone's at a steakhouse and suddenly like all the bread rolls start like crawling around and crying when you start cutting on them with a bread knife. It's like my bread's making me feel bad about cutting it and putting butter on it.
There's this one spell called Dwamage's Instant Summons. This was a real spell out of the book. And it would allow you to summon like a random monster. Well, we made one called Instantly Summon Dwamage. Now, Dwamage was a farmer that just wanted to get home. and anytime he summoned him, he would attempt to kill the mage and summon him and began his walk back home.
He hasn't been to his home in like 30 years, man. His dinner is beyond cold.
It has gone past the unhealthy mold stage to plant life that is edible.
It's become sentient. It's had enough time to gain awareness. I don't think it's food anymore.
It ate his wife. And his bed. He just doesn't know it yet because he can't get there.
It reminds me of that episode of South Park with Biggie Smalls, and like he kept trying to get to like the Halloween party, and every time as he was just about to get there, someone would like like summon him by saying his name 3 times while looking in a mirror. It was like a ripoff of the Candyman or Bloody Mary, but instead it was Biggie Smalls, and man, he got pissed off. Like he's just about to get to the to the fucking party, and all of a sudden he ends up in some fucker's bathroom like thousands of miles away. It's like, oh hell no! God, I love South Park. They're so fucking funny, and they're still funny to this day. God, how long has that show been around? Over 20 years. It's like on its 22nd season right now, I think. Because the season 21 just came out on DVD. We watched that. It was fucking funny. And so they're probably running through season 22 right now on TV, which I wish I could watch, but I still don't fucking have cable.
I remember when I was in high school, it's about when people started like drawing them on their notebooks and shit. So.
Well, I mean, like even when I was in high school, it's like I was pretty decent at art, but you didn't have to be decent at art to be able to draw them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fucking like construction paper cutouts. Well, at least they were originally. Now they use a computer program to like they can do the animation super fucking fast. Which, if you've never seen the special 6 Days to Air, watch it. It's a really good insight on how an episode of South Park gets made. All the work, and also there's not so much work as just a shitload of procrastination followed by last minute rushing that goes into an episode. And yet each time is like, not every single episode is gold, but you're at least looking at silver and bronze. Like, there's not many episodes that are just trash episodes, at least in my opinion. Like, I don't know about you. You're giving me a look right now that says, like, I beg to differ.
One with Mark Zuckerberg was pretty awful. Well, mostly for the Mark Zuckerberg parts.
Oh, you just found, like, that thing that he was doing to be annoying.
Because it was.
Well, that's not so much a bad episode. It's just like one of the characters was just was annoying to you. I think the writing on it was pretty fucking funny.
Well, alright, so this is something I did to a friend.
Oh, yes, please. Please tell the story.
Alright, so one day I'm taking my stepson out to eat. And we're trying to decide what we want. And as a joke, he suggests Denny's. And I tell him I don't really want to get down right now. I'd like to just get something from the drive-thru and go home. And he's like, that's okay. I was just kidding about Denny's. And we're driving around. I keep getting into wrong lanes, and traffic is like fucking horrible. And we can't seem to agree on anything. And so finally, I just say fuck it and pull up to a Denny's. And
you made this happen. I blame you.
Well, you know, I prefer Denny's IHOP at the very least. But
dude, fuck IHOP. We've talked about this.
Fuck IHOP.
Fuck IHOP and their inability to cook hash browns.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're not even brown. Their inability to cook hash.
Fuck IHOP and everything they stand for. I will still take your monetization. But
you will eat their dog food and smile.
Yeah, it's not going to be a real smile, but I'll do it. So anyway, this particular friend, he's wanting to become a psychiatrist someday, and he's pretty close to it, and I commend him on trying to do such a noble form of job.
Indeed.
But I sent him this text message because me and my stepson are just making fun of the fact that we ended up at a Denny's. And it was like, hey, no, you're not a full-fledged psychiatrist yet, but I'm kind of having a crisis of life at the moment and thought you could help. I mean, I ended up at Denny's, and I don't know how or understand what led me to this decision. Help me. Now, I was just expecting him to come back with some sort of snarky comment, because this guy is really good at that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's like his whole thing. It's like, our mutual friend is very much someone that he is always quick with a cutting remark, a witty remark, or some sort of like comeback.
Yeah, he's always got a pun in his pocket.
In fact, when I originally came up with the idea for this little podcast, he was the first one I had in mind, but he has, in the past...
That's right, I'm sloppy seconds.
Well, I chose you because you were here. I knew this thing was going to go nowhere if it was just me, to be honest. Because no one likes listening to just me. I don't like listening to just me. I was talking about this earlier. But, so he is a very intelligent person. I hope to God at some point we can get him on the podcast. But he is very difficult to nail down in the past several years. Yeah. He is becoming more and more elusive. He is becoming the snipe of our social circle.
Yeah. He's real, I promise.
He is not a Sasquatch.
Yes. But, yeah, so anyway, I'm just, hoping he gives me some sort of snarky comment as I tell him about my crisis of Denny's. And he was so concerned by what I wrote because he thought I was legitimately in trouble. He thought I was in some sort of fugue state and then aimlessly wandered into a Denny's and didn't know how I got there.
Like, I was brushing my teeth, I got into my pajamas, and then the next thing I knew, I was being served a Grand Slam. I don't know how I got here.
So he calls me legitimately concerned. And he's like, hey, is everything okay, man? I was like, did you not read the full message? He's like, well, you said you ended up at a Denny's. I was like, yeah, that was the joke. And then he like pauses for it. Oh, I thought you were in trouble. Enjoy your fucking Grand Slam, motherfucker.
that amuses me to no end because our friend, he's very difficult to fool. He is very sharp. He is. I am one of the first to admit he is much more intelligent than I am in a lot of ways. So the fact that, see, that's one of the things that, like, I rant a lot about texting. I fucking hate texting. I hate everything about texting. If I wanted to text people, I would have lived in an age where, like, ticker tape machines were still a thing, or Morse code. But I have a phone. I can understand people find texting to be like more convenient, but the thing is with texting, you can't put inflections. If you had just like left him a voice message, like, you know, with like a sarcastic tone, he probably would have realized it was a joke. But when you text it, yes, he could conceivably see that as a genuine cry for help.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Now,
the Grand Slam match wasn't bad.
Now, to be fair, like it's good that he was enough. He was a good enough friend to like be genuinely concerned and to call you right away. Because I know a lot of friends that'd be like, "Oh well, sucks to be you," and just leave you to your own devices. Like you could be bleeding out in an alleyway. It's like I'd go help, but I'm already in bed. It's like, I'm sorry that in my hour of need that I've inconvenienced you. Yeah, we have a lot of shitty friends. It's nice to know that our one mutual friend is not one of them.
Yeah.
Despite his more recent elusivity. Elusivity, is that a word? It is from now on.
It'll work for now.
I deem it so. Find me on this internet, I fucking dare you. If you think you have a better word, put it in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, we won't read them, but you know, they'll be there.
I will try to read them when I have the time and can be asked. It won't be often, but you know, I'm putting it out there. I may actually look at them. By the way, right now I'm the only one that has internet access. We're recording this on Fats's wife's computer because my laptop is very old. My laptop is, God, it's over 15 years old and it is riddled with viruses. So, yeah, I don't like bringing that around. So we can't use that. I need to get a new laptop. But, you know, that costs money. That's an issue. So we're using this.
So buy Angry Monkey Christ t-shirts and, you know, help us get better things in life. He'll spend his on a laptop, I'll spend mine on a kidney.
So we're recording this on the computer. I transfer it from a thumb drive to my computer where I actually edit them and then I post them online because Fats doesn't have internet. I do. So as of right now...
Such a huge lack of porn.
As of right now, if you guys make comments on our videos and they get responded to, for the moment, they will be from me. And I will put as such. I'll probably put like, you know, angry ... says blah, 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 blah. Eventually, when Fats gets his internet up or is able to, like, when he gets a chance to go online with his phone to a place that has Wi-Fi that's decent, he'll be able to look up and comment as well. Yeah. I will be giving him the password and stuff so that he will also be able to access our YouTube page. Yeah. In the meantime, we're still going to keep recording these. All right, let's see. What's next? Oh, something I wanted to bring up. We were talking about superhero characters on the last recording, and one that I wanted to bring up, it's not enough for a full episode, but... we were going through a couple of episodes of the X-Men because we had been talking about that. And the old animated series from the 90s, early 90s. If you've never seen it, you need to get off your ass.
Yeah, they're not that expensive on Amazon. Just, you know.
It's just a really fucking good show. Like, the first 3 or 4 seasons are the ones you want to get. The later seasons...
4 and 5 you can probably do without. I'd say go ahead and pick up 4, but 5 is where it, like, really drops off. And
yeah, the quality just went downhill, like, in a major fucking way. But some of the most, like, accurate representations of the characters from the comics. And I know that they did take some of the storylines directly from the comics. You have their own version of Days of Future Past. They have their own. They bring in the island of Genosha.
Yeah, they deal with the Phoenix Saga pretty well.
And the Dark Phoenix Saga.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the characters. But we were watching an episode with one of Fats's favorite characters, and one that I find to be very entertaining, Mojo.
Mojo is fucking awesome.
Now, Mojo has never been featured in any of the movies to my knowledge. In Deadpool 2, when they introduced one of the characters of X-Force, Shatterstar, he mentions that he's from Mojo World.
Yeah, which got my dick rock hard!
Now, to my understanding, Mojo World is a planet that exists somewhere in the multiverse that is run by Mojo. Mojo, the best way I could describe him... God, did we talk about Mojo in the last video?
Nope.
I don't remember. But just in case we didn't, Mojo is, think of Jabba the Hutt with a more humanoid head, but covered in a layer of sweat and grease and unmentionable. Instead of having a warm lower half, his lower half kind of stops at the hip, and he sits on a giant mechanical spider body.
It's kind of more of a scorpion because it's got the big stingy tail.
Well, it's got like the giant spider legs, that the spindly spider legs, but it does have like a big scorpion tail looking thing that comes out the back. And Mojo himself,
he's got like this cranial implant that holds his eyes and mouth open constantly.
Yeah, his mouth is kind of like yanked back in like this weird. He's either grinning or frowning, and like his mouth is always being pulled at the corners to the back of his head. His eyelids are like pulled open in like this weird clockwork orange looking thing. And he has like all these metal tubes coming out of his skull that come out of the back of his head that look like dreadlocks.
Yeah, and then his arms, he's kind of got like the fat danglies hanging off his upper arms, but
lots of fat danglies, man.
But his forearms are really skinny and long, and he's got these really long fingernails.
And he's got like just this giant mouth that you usually see him smiling. This really fucking, just like sinister, you ever hear that term? The bigger the smile, the sharper the knife.
Yeah.
He fucking emphasizes that big time. And what he is essentially an interdimensional being that makes television for the multiverse. And he is one of the most successful television producers in the multiverse. And he does so by making some of the most violent, grotesque programming available that the different dimensions just eat up. And he's all about ratings. He is definitely a villain, but he's not evil for the sake of being evil. He's evil for profit. He's
like a used car salesman that runs a production.
He is like, imagine the most ruthless fucking television producer with morals so low that go into the negative. That has almost unlimited power because he has so much money to just buy like these interdimensional goons to work for him. Like the goon that he has in that episode is Spiral, who is a very powerful mutant to my understanding.
Yeah, she's an incredibly powerful mutant. There's a few others that he has. I don't remember their names right offhand because it's been a while since I've been.
Well, Spiral alone, she has the ability to manipulate reality in some forms, and she can go between dimensions and interface.
She could drag people into other dimensions against their will.
Very much against their will. And Mojo himself, I think he can manipulate technology to a point.
Yeah.
And whatever he can't do, he just pays other people to do it for him. Now, I'm not too familiar with him.
One of my favorite episodes, the X-Men are just wrecking shop on his plans, and he's grabbing his head. He's like, "Oh my gosh, all this chaos, all this destruction, and not a single camera in sight."
Yeah, it's like I said, he's not evil for the sake of being evil. He He knows that people want blood, gore, sex, and violence, and that's what he wants to give them. And he doesn't care if his actors get, like, maimed to death.
He doesn't care if he loses as long as it puts a profit in his pocket.
It's like all he cares about is the ratings and getting, like, sponsors and shit like that. I love the way they depict him in that animation because, like, they kind of give him. He's almost like a Mr. Mixoplick from DC, that the character from the Eighth Dimension that fucks with Superman just for shits and giggles because he can. Combined with Freakazoid, which is that one Warner Brothers character that had that badass cartoon in the mid to late 90s. And, or was it early 90s? Oh, it was the 90s. Anyway.
In some ways, he kind of reminds me of the character Arcade with just like a shitload more power. If you're not familiar with Arcade...
He's another Marvel villain, isn't he?
Yeah, and he likes... Particularly, he ends up dealing with Spider-Man and the X-Men a lot, but... Essentially, he makes these funhouse challenges just to test his skill against superheroes, kind of like the Riddler, but doing it for fun rather than stupidity.
And like most of it, in or like the riddles based on riddles, Arcade bases his stuff either around game shows type stuff, or like arcades, like a giant death pinball arena, or like actually sucking people into an actual virtual reality arcade, where if you die for real.
Yeah. But Mojo just takes that concept to a whole new level.
Is he also reminds me of Jim Carrey's rendition of The Mask. I think they took a lot of inspiration from Jim Carrey when they were doing this character in that episode of the X-Men. It's like, he's like from 0 to 60 in nothing flat. He is just all emotion all the time, and he's constantly talking. Like you mentioned, he's like a used car salesman. He's constantly spewing all these slogans and all these sales pitches. But he is at one point he sticks Storm and Cyclops into an unwinnable situation, and they manage to fight off for a while, but eventually they lose. It's like, look at the ratings. Well, look at these ratings. Mathematicians couldn't come up with numbers these high. It's like, wow, these ratings are amazing. Look at these two. I may just have to let them live.
Yeah.
And one of the things, there's two things I really love from that episode. It's the fact that every time he moves, there's this sticky sound effect. I love that because like Mojo, he's not like skin tone. He's like a green with like lime green spots. He looks like some sort of weird, like he's got like tree frog looking skin that's like polka dot. And he just looks sticky and unpleasant. He looks like if you touched him, you'd never be able to get that smell off your hands. You'd have to wait for the skin on your hand to die.
Yeah, whenever he moves, it just sort of makes a sound like driving a plunger through a jar of mayonnaise.
Or like stepping on like a combination of dog turns and KY and like, pulling your feet from it. It's like, oh! With probably a similar smell too. And another thing I like is there's this one like yes man that follows him around, this dude in a robe. I'm sure he's another character, but
I can't remember his name.
Neither can I, but I love like the fact that like every time he responds to Mojo, he gives him some sort of like under like a backhanded title. It's like, yes, your rotundness. What is it that you desire? Your obeseness. What can I help you with? With your massiveness. He always refers to him as like some sort of like thesaurus term for like morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Which, yes, like Mojo is definitely that. I have to wonder if Mojo himself has any actual superpowers. Being as big as he is, he probably has some form of super strength, and I'm sure that thing on the back of his suit, that scorpion-like tail, can probably shoot lasers.
I've seen it shoot lasers before.
Well, if he's cybernetic, he could probably also like hook up all kinds of weapon systems to his platform that he sits on. Assuming that he is a cyborg. I mean, because like that shit doesn't look organic. It looks like a mechanical platform that just like his upper torso like sits on. Ugh, I'd hate to imagine what it would look like if he actually like rolled off the thing.
I don't know if he can actually get off of that. I think he is cybernetically attached. I'm not positive on that, but
He's just such an interesting character. Like,
Wonder how Ghost Rider's penance stare would work on him.
oh god, it would turn him inside out and make him explode. Are you kidding me? Well, I don't know. It's like it depends because like some people have gotten away from the penance stare through like loopholes. Like you mentioned that that the Punisher had a penance stare on him, and the Punisher came out of it unscathed because he honestly didn't believe he did anything wrong. He honestly and truly believed with all of his soul that every single person he's ever killed deserved it and nothing less of short of what he did to them. So because of that, he was able to come out of the penance stare without being harmed.
Okay, according to this, Mojo has powers derived from magic.
Really?
Yes, like projection of magical energy blast, controlling the minds of others, and interdimensional teleportation. These powers are strengthened by the worship of his followers, hence the importance of the popularity of his TV program.
So literally the higher his ratings, the more powerful he gets. That's fucked up. So he's essentially a Call of Cthulhu character who, instead of like having people worship him in temples, is more in the modern age and has people like watch his TV programming as a form of worshiping him. That's even more fucked up than I thought. But that is awesome. That's a good example of good writing for a villain. And he is like the thing is he is like in the episode he makes it clear that he's aware of the X-Men. And he refers to like on the backwater universe. Because like in their reality is like considered like a backwater compared to his. And so he kidnaps them from their own universe into his so that he can force them to run the gauntlet of his, like, you know, meat grinder of a television show. And, like, apparently it's not uncommon for him to just, like, kidnap the members of the X-Men from time to time in the comic to just, like, force them into being his show. And we were talking about this earlier, about him just showing up and, like, you know, just fucking stealing the X-Men. And what did you say?
God damn it, Mojo, I just wanted to sleep.
Like, imagine that, like, you know, you just...
Dealing with Mr. Sinister all fucking day. Had to trade pelvises with Wolverine because Mr. Sinister wanted to play mix and match the fucking mutants. And now you just want to go...
It's like, it's 4 in the morning, I just got into bed, I just put my head on the pillow, and now I'm in fucking Mojo World having to outrun this giant... like fucking meat tenderizer that's slamming down at me from the sky.
Also, we could promote some sort of Mojo energy drink. Needed some airtime to get that commercial.
It's like, you know, you're being threatened with death in a different dimension because he wants to peddle Mojo brand underoos. Like, the thing
The kids will love it.
Motherfucker selling action figures of you and you don't get no royalties. It's like, come on. I may not be able to use that currency in my home dimension, but come on.
Just let me get a hot dog on Mojoverse.
Dude, I wouldn't want to eat any food from the Mojo World. Are you kidding me? Nothing there looks like it wouldn't just burn a hole straight through your tract.
You know, you gotta start small, but you know.
At one point, like,
you'll be as big as Mojo.
No. I don't need that in my life.
Then you get the cool mechanical spider thing. You don't need dialysis anymore.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of life support systems he's got built into that cybernetic spider thing he sits on. But yeah, like he's an interesting character. There's just so many interesting characters in Marvel. We were talking about this earlier, going not a particular superhero in general or a superhero character, but in comic books we were discussing the differences between DC and Marvel. And one of the things we were talking about was we were talking about the characters and why we generally find the Marvel characters to be more interesting.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with just when they were making the characters in Marvel. They really emphasized that they had a human side in addition to having powers, and they got to deal with their personal problems and, you know, trying to deal with having a second life and things like that. You think about Batman, he doesn't really have to worry about his secondary life. He's a rich guy. He always has an excuse as to why he wasn't in his house because, hey, I'm rich. I was banging some stripper on top of Mount Everest because I've got a helicopter made out of solid gold I can take up there. Superman, he's essentially a god. He can do whatever pretty much the fuck he wants, so he doesn't have to come up with too many excuses. The Flash, he can move fast enough that he can be in multiple places at once.
That's one thing I did like. Hold on that thought for a second. Like the Flash, there was this one comic that our mutual friend was looking at. We keep calling him a mutual friend because I don't know if he'd be okay with us calling him by his real name or even using his online handle. Just until we talk with him in detail about this, I'm just going to refer to him as our mutual friend because he's both of our friends. But anyway, he was looking at this one comic, and it was a comic set in the far future where like Superman's an old man, and a lot of the other DC heroes have either died of old age, passed the torch, or they've ascended to just a whole different level of power. Or like, who was the original Green Lantern? What was his name?
Are you talking about Hal Jordan?
Yes, that's the one. Like, he had essentially become a god with his power ring, and he had, like, fucked off to his own devices. But the thing is about the Flash, at this point the Flash had gotten so fast that he was multiple times the speed of light. He was so fast that he was essentially omnipresent. He could walk at a slow pace, but he was so fast that to everyone else around him, he was just everywhere at once. No crime ever happened in the city that he was protecting because he could essentially be everywhere at the same time. He could stop a crime before it even happened. And it didn't matter where he was or where you were. Like, he could stop a crime at two places at almost the exact same time. Even when he was standing still, he looked like a vaguely humanoid-shaped blur that had, like, multiple arms and legs because he was, even standing still, just the fact that he was fidgeting, he looked like a blur. Like, he couldn't actually stand still because he was so fast. And I thought that was an interesting take on just his speed power, to be that fucking fast that you attain omnipresence.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, those characters, but a good example of, like, because, like, why is the Joker evil? He likes to create chaos, and he just does crime. Why is the Penguin evil?
Because he's an asshole.
Yeah, because he just does crime. Why is the Riddler evil? He just likes to test his knowledge. These aren't, like, really great motivations. Then you compare it to, like,
Or how, like, the original Lex Luthor storyline, he was angry at Superman because he lost his hair.
Yeah.
And, like, Batman, the way he came up with his superhero identity, a bat happens to fly by his window, and he's like, hey, that's what I'll be.
I'll be the thing that I'm scared of, because he was scared of bats.
Yeah,
He's like, if they scare me, then obviously they'll scare other people. I don't think it's the fact that you look like a bat that scares them. I think it's the fact that they don't know where you come from.
And
they don't know.
Pummel the shit out of them.
And it's like, the fact that you'll come out of the shadows and beat their monkey ass before they know what's coming. I think that's more of what they're afraid of. But, like, then you look at, like, Marvel characters like Magneto. Why is Magneto evil? Well, because he was a refugee. His family was killed during World War II because he was Jewish. He was interned in an internment camp. Both of his parents were killed in the internment camp. He survived. And so he saw the Nazi regime as a way of humanity essentially finding fault with anything that they deemed to be different from them. And he sees, like, it's bad enough being a Jew, but being a mutant, anyone is like, of course, like, the Nazis didn't like Jewish people because they were Jewish. But, like, if you're a mutant, pretty much all of humanity is going to band together to get rid of you. And so for him, it's like, I saw my people get wiped out by the prejudice of humanity before. I'm not going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
And you look at, like, a character we were talking about on the last recording, Juggernaut. It's like, why is he evil? It's like, he's not so much evil, he's just a dick. It's like, and the fact is, like...
He's a bully, and he has the power to be unstoppable. So
It's
he,
like
he just goes along being a bully.
It's like he is just a bully with damn near unlimited power. And he's not evil for the sake of being evil. He is Charles Xavier was his stepbrother. He always had his nose out of joint about him, always picked on him, always bullied him. And like even with his like superpowers now, is like he still has fun bullying Charles Xavier and his X-Men team.
Yeah, a bully generally doesn't stop unless they get put in their place. And when
And
you're
you
the
can't really do that with
Juggernaut, you can't put him in his place.
But then we were also talking about Batman the Animated Series. Now, we haven't really talked about this at length, but Batman the Animated Series is another show from the 90s.
And you need to watch it.
Yes, you need to get off your ass if you haven't seen it. They got the DVDs out there. Fucking buy them. Fucking watch them. Don't watch The Batman, the one that came out in the 2000s, because that was this giant steaming pile of shit. But Batman the Animated Series Batman the Animated Series did more for Batman than I think any other medium of Batman's ever done besides the original medium being the comics.
Yeah.
It took a lot of the Batman characters and gave them stories, it gave them personalities, it gave them motivation.
Yeah, to a modern comic book fan, they probably assume Harley Quinn has been around forever. And she was born from that series.
Yes, believe it or not, for all of you who weren't aware, I'm sure, like, if you're watching this, you probably heard it from, like, the Nostalgia Critic or James Rolfe, but Harley Quinn, one of the most beloved Batman villains, and, like, a heartthrob to the Joker, or at least a toady to the Joker, depending on how you look at it, she was literally created for the show. And she was so popular in the show that they brought her into the comics, where she quickly became one of the like favorite additions to the comics. If not for that animated series, you never would have seen her in the comics, and she wouldn't exist. But one of my favorite examples is Mr. Freeze. Once again, like the Nostalgia Critic and James Rolfe have talked about this at length. Mr. Freeze originally, when he was in DC Comics, he was a Batman villain that was essentially another version of Captain Cold. Captain Cold is a villain for The Flash, but Mr. Freeze is that same idea, but just a villain for Batman.
Yeah. In the comic books, he was not taken seriously.
He was a fucking joke.
Yeah.
He was some dude who looked like he was wearing like a 1930s Buck Rogers spacesuit with like a bubble helmet with like a freeze ray, and that is it. He had no story, no motivation. He was just a dude with a freeze gun that, like, made crimes and that Batman could beat up on. That is it.
Yeah. He was just a scrub to fill in pages till they got to a real story arc.
Yeah, until the Joker or someone showed up. But in the series, they gave him one of the best stories, and they made him one of the best fucking Batman villains.
He is definitely elevated to one of those tragic villains, and if you get a
Shakespearean tragedy.
If you get a chance to watch the movie Sub-Zero, it does a really awesome job of just making you feel for that villain.
He's not evil for the sake of being evil. All he wants is revenge and a way to save his wife. He lost everything to greed. And he just, in the first episode they bring him back in, he just wants revenge. And he is totally and absolutely motivated by it. It's not until later episodes that they introduce the fact that his wife still exists. By the first episode, it's assumed that his wife is dead.
Yeah.
But in later episodes, they retcon it so that his wife is still alive, and so now Mr. Freeze is motivated by the fact that he wants to get the material, the technology, the money, and whatever he needs to bring his wife back to life.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about it, with his wife in that state of limbo, it's actually what keeps him in the situation he's in. If he could heal her, he could move on to a normal life. If she would die, he could move on with his sorrow. But he's stuck in the middle of that because he can't cure her.
That's a very good point you just brought up. I hadn't really thought of that. That's a good plot device. That is. It's like it makes sense. And also in the original series, the original voice actor unfortunately has passed on since then. But in the original series, they had this older Native American gentleman, I believe, who was the voice actor, and he does such a good fucking job. Jesus Christ. There used to be this great tribute video to him that had like a couple of scenes from the show with like voice bits from him. And it was really good, but fucking YouTube's taking it down, I guess because of a copyright strike from Warner Brothers. So it wasn't like it was the whole goddamn episode, it was just a few bits of it. It was like a 3-minute long video with just some bits of dialogue and shit from it. I was like, fucking leave it on there. If anything, it's going to do like advertising. People are going to want to go out and buy the DVD just to watch the whole episode.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you do that to yourself? Jesus. But of course, like, fucking like YouTube copyright strikes and all that shit. I don't know if you.
Well, a lot of those they're just automated at this point.
Yeah, because God forbid we pay at least one motherfucker to do something. That's something I keep hearing about. Like, you'll hear people like James Rolfe, the Nostalgia Critic, Game Grumps, Jim Sterling, Angry Joe. A lot of them will talk about like how they get pissed off that like all these automated systems fuck up everything, and when you have a complaint, there's no human that you can complain to. It's all automated. It's like you might as well just be talking at a wall. Or like going up to a drive-through window like after the restaurant's closed and yelling at the speaker at the drive-through.
I want tacos!
God damn it, tacos!
Well, I actually had a problem like that in real life. Walmart, they have an automated system for you to pick up your meds. Mm-hmm. Basically, you schedule a time that you're going to go pick up your meds.
Yeah.
So I did. But their automated system didn't take into account that they were going to be shutting down the pharmacy early that day.
So it scheduled you to pick them up at like a time when the pharmacy was already closed?
Yeah.
That is beyond stupid.
Yeah, and this is blood pressure medication that I was going to be without for a weekend.
It's like, oh yeah, it's just like, my ability to keep my blood from like, destroying my internal organs. That's something I can just put on the back burner for a while.
Yeah, no problem. Swallowed a whole bottle of aspirin that weekend to keep my blood thin.
Yeah, it's not like I fucking need that or anything. It's just my blood, and I don't need that. My God, I fucking hate automated systems. It's like, just get a person. Just fucking get. You can afford it. Don't fucking act like you can't afford it.
Right. Yeah, I hate on those phones when you're like having to explain to a fucking machine what you want. I give it like 2 tries, and then I just start screaming real person at it.
Do what I tell you!
I will get loud, and I will
Where's the option that gives me a physical address so I can walk down there and beat your ass? Beat them with like the automated phone messaging system that they have. Tear this thing out of whatever fucking wall you have and bash you over the head with it until my problems are solved. My God, it's like, I know it keeps costs down and it's efficient, but you need to have a real person. There's just certain things that only a real person can help you with.
Yeah, just have a small team so when the automated system fails because it can't handle the situation, that it connects to the real person. Have 2 fucking people. Give them a plate of chicken wings.
You can pay the McNuggets. Every time they help someone, they get a McNugget.
Yeah. They can trade in 5 McNuggets for a chicken skin donut. And a cold glass of milk.
Cold. So it's essentially a white popsicle at this point.
Well, actually, I was thinking, so when you bite into the hot chicken skins, you take a sip of milk to go with the donut, it makes the grease kind of coagulate in your throat.
And choke your ass to death.
So you gotta hard swallow the donut pieces.
Fuck sticking to your ribs, that shit won't go down. You ever need to drink Drano, not because you want to die, but just because you want to live?
You're sitting there trying to talk to people on the phone with all this grease and donuts stuck in your throat.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm the fucked up one out of the two of us. You coming up with this idea? By the way, for all of those of you out there who cook, bad idea. Never put cold water down a drain after pouring hot grease. You want to fuck up your pipes, that's how you do it. Now, if you're moving out of an apartment and you hate them...
There's a couple things you can do. One of the ones I recommend is throwing potatoes down the AC air duct. And eventually what will happen is those potatoes will go bad and they'll pop and let out this most horrendous smell that the apartment's not going to be able to get rid of until they tear down those walls and find the potatoes. But when they do their initial inspection, they ain't finding those potatoes.
That is a sick fucking idea, and I am proud of you for coming up with it. Do you have any other words of wisdom for the disgruntled apartment owner?
Yes, if what you can do with curtain rods. Take them open, stuff some shrimp in there, close them off, let the shrimp rot inside the curtain rods.
And then you get to play Find the Smell. Shellfish. Always good for aromatherapy.
Or you could, put some shrimp in the back of the toilet, the toilet tank, because they're probably not going to look in there. They're just going to flush, see the water moves if they even bother to do that. But the shrimp get to ferment in the water for a while.
Ferment. Why is the toilet water coming out crunchy? Should water be crunchy? I don't think water should be crunchy.
Let us ride off on shaven alpacas to Magic Land, where the water flows like chicken nuggets. We do not drink the water in Magic Land.
Fuck that water. You can go to Magic Land. I'd rather go to the Big Rock Candy Mountain. Thank you very much. The handouts grow on trees.
Yeah.
Oh, God, what else?
I've had some slum landlords. They deserve what they got.
It reminds me, there's this one comedian, Jeremy Hotz, he was talking about Monopoly. He says, what is everyone's favorite bits of, what is it, everyone's two favorite properties in Monopoly is like Park Place and Boardwalk. He says, what were the two pieces he always got were like Baltic and Mediterranean. The two first ones. It's like, here's your $4, slumlord! Shut up, Grandma! Bitch, I'll cut off the heat!
Yeah.
That comedian's fucking hilarious. Jeremy Hotz, if you get a chance, see if you can find any of his stuff on YouTube. You're like, he's fucking funny. He's a funny guy.
Monopoly.
Monopoly, I think, has been the cause of like most issues of domestic violence.
It's at least two.
One of our friends, he likes to claim he's unbeaten in Monopoly, but that's just whenever like he's about to lose, he kicks the table over, and like whenever we're playing it like on like a game console, like a PlayStation 2, he would yank the console out of the wall. The sore fucking loser. What's this thing you have here?
It's a McClinger.
Oh, it looks like some sort of speaker thing. It's this weird thing. It looked like a fucking triangular shaped roll I'm holding here in my hand, and it looks like it's got two speakers. It's one of those weird ass portable speakers that I see sometimes.
No, it's a new style of toilet paper holder. The speaker, it lets out vibrations, so while you're wiping your ass, you can tingle your asshole.
I don't need to dislodge my colon with sound waves. Thank you very much. I got enough problems. I don't need this to be another one.
Well, there you go.
I hate these things. Not for like what they do, but like how often I've had to work. And here's another bit from Career Tales. Keep in mind, I work as in a funeral home. How many times I've had to work a funeral where we get out to the gravesite, and some fucking asshole's got to bust out one of their little portable speakers. I'm like, fuck, here we go. So we're doing the burial, and then after the minister or the deacon says their bit, some family members comes out with their fucking Beats little portable speaker system, and they try to hook it up to their phone, and the first thing is, oh, it doesn't want to sync up to their phone. Or they need a firmware update, so we got to sit out there until it fucking downloads the fucking update. Or they go through the troubleshooters page so that they can fucking look it up. Then they try to put it in and they can't get the thing to turn on, or they can't get the proper fucking volume. Meanwhile, it's 105 fucking degrees. It's 120 degrees with the heat index, 100% fucking humidity. I'm out there in a fucking black suit and 3 layers of clothing, sweating my fucking ass off because you didn't bother to test this goddamn thing before you went out there. And you go out there, it's like, oh, I can't get a fucking Wi-Fi signal. No shit, Sherlock. You're in a fucking cemetery. What do you think is the priority of getting a fucking Wi-Fi signal out in a cemetery? You think you want the fucking people in the goddamn graves to be getting broadband? The fuck's wrong with you? And then they go out there, and of course there's going to be someone singing along to it. And like half the time, like they get someone that goes up there to sing. They're so off key, their singing sounds like 2 cats fucking. It's just awful. God damn it. It has been too fucking hot this summer. The heat has been bullshit. We have had some much milder summers in the past few years, but this summer fucking sucks. I am sick of it. I am well fucking ready for the winter whenever the fuck it gets here. It needs to hurry its ass up. Jesus Christ. Well, I just went on a rampage right there. Fats is looking up on his phone. What are you looking up, Fats? It better be something related to the show. Share it with the rest of the class.
She-male porn. Uncomfortable amounts of she-male porn.
Why? Why would you do this? You need help.
Yeah, mostly in the form of a kidney.
I think you need more help than that, my friend. You were probably just checking your Facebook or whatnot. Got it. It's funny when I see my coworkers checking their Facebook, like when we're on service. It's like, I need to check my Facebook. It's like, I'm sure your fucking notifications can wait until after the goddamn service. Because the last thing I need is to get fucking yelled at because my funeral director had her fucking nose stuffed in her goddamn phone, looking to see if her boo left her a new goddamn message on her Facebook. Or if someone responded to her Facebook post.
There was this one really cool post I saw on Facebook while I was at work. When I'm in the bathroom at work, I'll check my phone, basically while I'm doing my business. And I'm scrolling through Facebook, and there's this post of this like angry black woman with really wide eyes. And she says, all right, you scrolled long enough, time to wipe your ass and get back to work.
Holy shit, man, the internet got really real for you right then and there.
So I took her advice.
It's like shit just got real there for a second.
Did my manager post this?
That'd be fucking hilarious if that was the case. Oh, God. I don't usually talk about the news, and this isn't political or anything, because we've already said we don't want to talk about politics, at least unless we're being paid to do so.
Yeah, once we find out what kind of audience we're dealing with, then, we might, dip our toes in that murky swamp.
Or maybe if we ever do like a live thing with like super chats or something like that, maybe, because like I ain't putting my fucking head on no chopping block talking about politics unless I know I can be properly reimbursed. It's like, if I'm going to lose my fucking head about it, I at least want some money to take with me when I go.
This week on Fat and Angry, abortion.
No, stop it. But this is a bit in the news that doesn't have to do with politics. And it was actually kind of funny. Let me know if you actually heard about this, because it was making the rounds online, and it was so bad it was actually on the news. Did you hear about the milkshake McDonald's fight?
Yes. Oh, dear God. I read so much about that. That was wonderful. Just Big Mama dropped the canned hams on that bitch's ass.
I am so glad you know what I'm talking about. Now, this is going to be like fucking ancient news by the time this gets up on YouTube, but I'm fucking saying it anyway, because it's something to talk about and it was funny. So, for those of you who are unawares, As far as I'm aware, this is what happened, and you can correct me because you said you've read a lot about it.
Oh, this is what I heard happened.
All right.
So this, and it turns out the customer that threw the milkshake is a stripper.
Of course she is. This happened in Vegas, right?
I think it was in California. It could be Vegas.
Well, it'd make more sense if it was in California, to be honest.
But yeah, she asked for a glass of water, and then the manager saw that she was going to try to get a soda, so she turned off the soda machine because she wasn't going to give away free soda. And the customer started throwing a whole bunch of insults at her.
It's like, how dare you now let me have free soda that I didn't pay for? It's like, well, for one, you didn't fucking pay for it.
Cussing her out, calling her out to fight, and eventually she flings the milkshake at her.
The milkshake wasn't. There's like she threw a milkshake, which you don't see in the video. I don't believe. What you do see her do in the video is she.
You can see a video where she throws the milkshake. Most of it misses the big girl.
But like, there's like
she hits her in the face with a steel pan.
Yeah, it's like she's got like this fucking serving tray, and she like frisbees the shit at it, and she hits this woman in the face. Now this is like you said she was a stripper, right?
Yeah.
Now she looks like a stripper.
Like 90 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, she's not a big girl. She's like.
Now, on the other hand, the manager
is like 200
WWE wrestler. Just takes that steel pan like it's nothing.
Yeah, like that thing like hits her in the face and she fucking shrugs it off like she's the fucking juggernaut. It's like, oh, you think that's going to save you? That's cute.
Yeah, and she grabs her by the collar, starts shaking her around, throws her into a table, starts pounding on her head with her fist, and then chucks her into a booth. And then one of the other employees like tries to get the customer away, and she elbows her in the head, so she pops the skin.
So now she's getting beaten up by two employees.
Well, the employee hits her a few times and then tosses her back to Big Mama. And then Big Mama drops some more canned hams on her head. And then she actually picks up a steel chair and tries going...
It's like, at this point, she's already gotten beaten up twice. First by one person, then by two people. And apparently, this isn't enough because, like, apparently even customers were like trying to pull like the big employee off of her because, like, obviously it was not a fair fight, and like this slender woman was getting her ass kicked.
Yeah, so,
but like apparently, she was getting beaten so badly she didn't register that she was getting beaten so badly because she thought she was still in the fight.
Yeah, so
I don't know if you've ever seen that one Kids in the Hall sketch about staying down. It's like, I think at that point she saw the queen. Is like, excuse me, citizen, I believe you should stay down. If you've ever seen that sketch, it was that. It was you fucking stay down at that point. You have lost. Good day, sir.
So she picks up a chair and tries to swing it at the manager. The manager just catches the chair and is like, try me, bitch. So she lets go.
We've done this dance twice.
So she lets go of the chair, and the manager, she's walking back to the area, and the customer is still talking shit to her and like challenging her. It reminds me of something that Bruce Lee once said in an interview. Somebody had asked him who was the toughest person to fight, and he says Americans, because they don't know when they're beat, and they keep getting back up.
Well, it's like, in a way, it'd be like getting into a fist fight with a zombie. You can beat it up all you want, but it's not, unless you kill it, it's going to get back up. No amount of like punching is going to stop it. Like literally, I think that in another situation that wouldn't have stopped until she was knocked out. And by that point, it probably would have been some permanent damage, or at least some extreme long-term damage. She's lucky she got out of it as light as she did. Because like this woman could have just like body slammed her on the ground and just hip dropped her on the head and fucking murdered her. Because this woman looked like she was at least 200 pounds, if not 250 pounds.
Yeah, no, I don't
Against
know.
like this 89-pound weakling.
And I don't know if there's any like new development on it, but last time I checked, the McDonald's said they were investigating, but they did not fire her.
That's surprising because
most of the time something like that happens, yeah, you're gone, even if it was self-defense.
it's like I was talking with this to a couple of my coworkers because it was I was checking up my feed in the morning because I like to get to work early. It's like me and the other attendants where I work, we get to work early. Everyone else fucking shows up late because they're fucking lazy. It's like even our managers show up late, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is not how you lead by example. But that aside, like I'm there early, and I'm talking with some of the other attendants, and I looked up on my feed, and it said McDonald's milkshake fight. I'm like, well, what the hell is this? And that's when I saw the story, and I saw the video, and they were talking about it's like, oh well, like good for her for like standing up for herself. And I says, are you kidding? McDonald's, as far as I understand, has like a zero tolerance policy about that. And I was like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, years ago, I remember there was an incident where this guy was beating up his girlfriend down at McDonald's. And one of the workers there, like this busboy, like, he stepped in to try to pull this guy off of her because he was really wailing on her. And the guy turns around and beats the shit out of this guy. Like drags him outside and stomps on his head a couple of times. And the worker was fired by McDonald's because he broke their no tolerance policy. Their policy is that you do not get involved regardless. Even if you are being assaulted, you do not. If someone assaults you, you call the police and you wait for the police to arrive. You do not raise your hands to customers. No exceptions, no excuses. It doesn't matter if the customer is beating you over the head with a steel chair. You sit there and take it like a good little drone. Because the second you raise your hand to a customer, that means that now the company can be sued. And they will sue you because they just got their ass beat. So of course they want to stick it to you any way they can. So technically this woman could take this to court and could probably get some money out of it. She was completely in the wrong, and everyone knows it, and there's video to that effect. But the courts almost always side with these people.
Well, to a degree. Once she got separated by the other employee, that's where, like, I think McDonald's liability is cut off, because when she got thrown back to the manager, and then the manager started beating her ass again.
But at this point, like, a secondary employee tried to separate her for her own good, and she attacked the second employee.
Yeah.
So now she's attacked two employees.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's like big companies like McDonald's, Burger King, like any type of large chain that has over 1,000 locations nationwide, or is a worldwide company that you'd see in like other countries besides the U.S.
They don't want the negative publicity.
They don't want the negative publicity, and they don't want to lose any money. Like, they could. It's like they're a big corporation. If someone sues you for like 10 million or like 50 million, they'll get it. Like, no issue. It's like the courts love handing over huge. They love sticking it to corporations. Because in society, we've all agreed that corporations are the devil. It's like, now, do I believe that the employee was in the wrong for defending herself? Fuck no.
Yeah. No, I think I think it's wonderful to see an employee just like stand up for herself and not take shit from an abusive customer like that.
And the thing is, like, this customer is like, I've heard of customers like be unreasonable before, but you took a water cup, you were stealing soda, and they cut off your soda, and now you're angling for a fight because they stopped you from stealing.
Yeah.
That would be like if you see someone stuffing their pockets with shit at a retail store and you ask them to empty your pockets, and the next thing you know, they're punching you in the face.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry. It's like, I don't care if I lose my job. It's like, you raise a hand to me, I'm going to fucking take you down. And if it comes to blows, I'm going to use every fucking dirty trick I can. Because I've learned that you don't fight fair. You bite, you kick him in the balls, you claw, you go for the eyes, you do whatever it takes to get yourself the advantage.
I mean, I consider myself a gentle giant. I will not start a fight.
Well, who the fuck wants to start a fight? I mean, like, people who start a fight are people who either think that they got friends to back them up there, so they're trying to goad you into a fight where they can jump you, like 3-on-1. Or there's someone who's just so fucking full of themselves that they're coming out of their own ears.
Well, like I said, I'm a gentle giant. I won't start a fight. But if you put me in a position where I think my only option is to fight, I will fucking finish it.
So this is about to get Mortal Kombat all up in here. You will hear Shao Kahn say, "Finish him!" I'm gonna speak up. I don't think the microphone caught that.
That's fine.
You also got to do the hand motion when you do that. You weak, pathetic fool. Because he fucking just points at you when he says that in the game. It's like, and fucking jabs that index finger at you.
Feel the wrath of Shao Kahn.
But like, yeah, it's like no one should ever want to get into a fight. Ever. I mean, why? Why would you do that? Especially when you're a kid, it's one thing because most kids don't have the strength to do permanent damage to each other, and also they heal faster. So
also when you're a kid, you don't have all of your brain material working yet, so your ability to rationalize a situation, coupled with all the sugar you ate for breakfast, more likely, your options are to shit yourself or to begin punching.
or both.
Shit yourself while punching. Punch the guy and then shit on him.
But it's like the thing is like you can heal shit pretty quickly when you're a kid. It's like like kids get into fights all the time, and it's usually no big deal. Once you become an adult, shit don't heal no more.
Yeah.
It's like you said you were like doing backyard like wrestling and you fucked up your knee. Has your knee healed completely yet?
No, it's still loose.
And it's probably going to be like that for the rest of your life. That sucks, but that's life.
Oh, there's some winter mornings that like I'll stand on that leg first, getting out of bed, and the whole joint will just collapse.
It's like, oh, the ground's coming up to meet me. Hello, ground.
So yeah, it's.
I wonder if it'll be my friend.
I mean, I could probably get a doctor to look at it and get a surgery done or something, but
it would probably like lessen the damage. But like, when something's
for one,
that
I ain't got
screwed
that kind of money, and it happens so rarely. I don't consider it a problem yet.
I mean, it's like with injuries like that. Usually, you can have surgery to lessen the pain and stuff, but it's always going to be fucked up, and there's no amount of surgery that's going to fix it 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's the thing is like, I can't stand these people that get into fights as adults because like, for one, you're too fucking old to be acting like that.
Yeah.
Two is like, if you get an injury, it's gonna nag you for the rest of your life. And three, there's a damn good chance that you're gonna hit if you get knocked down the wrong way, that's it, you're done. We had, unfortunately, a couple of years back, several incidences within about 2 or 3 years where people were getting caught in instigations where like someone was trying to pick a fight with them. They were trying to back off and they got fucking cold caught. And some of them were actually caught on tape, and it was very unfortunate, and it pissed me off to watch this on the news. Like someone intentionally bumps into someone. The guy he bumps into tries to back off and apologize. The other one just gets in his face, punches him once. They get knocked down. They hit the pavement. Their head bounces off the pavement, and that's it. That's all she wrote. And they ended up dying. It's like that's all it takes is just one hit. You hit that pavement wrong, and you're dead. And like you don't need that. It's like just fucking if you want to get into a fight, fucking let it go. You don't need that shit. No one needs that shit as an adult. If you're a grown-ass man or a grown-ass woman, get your shit together, man up or women up or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and act like a fucking adult. Because, for fuck's sake, especially in this town, we get way too many fucking people that act they're just they woke up looking for a fight that day and they're just looking for someone that they think they can beat in a fist fight. And unfortunately the other person wasn't aware that they were being drafted into like like a fucking preemptive episode of like underground boxing. It's like they did not get the memo.
Yeah.
It's like, do I fucking look like Kimbo Slice? Do I look like I fucking signed up for this nonsense? No. I'm trying to go to Walmart and get some milk. Like, fucking give me a break, man.
There's more than 2 gallons, I promise.
It's like, God, man, I remember once we were at a bar, and this husband and wife had apparently brought their kid with them, and he wasn't like a little kid, but he looked like he was about 18 at the oldest. And I think in Texas there's a law that says you can bring an underage kid to a bar.
Yes.
If they're under parental supervision.
Yes. I've had a TABC license. Now, some bars can still impose the rule that they don't allow minors in there.
Well, bars in Texas, they have the right to refuse service to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are.
But if they, but legally an adult can bring in a minor.
But yeah, so this is like, he could have been 21. I severely doubted it. I mean, like, to say he was 18 was kind of stretching it. And I'm over there doing karaoke with a friend, and all of a sudden we hear a scuffle, and we look behind us towards the bar area, and apparently this kid had decided that he was going to pick a fight with some dude who was like almost twice his size. Like, this kid looked like he was 120 pounds, 140 pounds maybe, against this bald dude who was like almost 4 feet wide, who looked like he was almost 300 pounds, if not heavier. And not 300 pounds obese neither. And he also had his friends there with him. And this guy just had his mom and dad there with him. And like, this dude looks like apparently he got cold cocked, and even though the kid cold cocked him, like this dude was a big guy, and it didn't even faze him. And like, he was just about to like, get after this kid, and he saw that this was a kid, and so he didn't lay hands on him. And then like the kid's parents like come in like to try to push him back, and this kid, he's fucking angling for a fight. You literally see him, he tries to go at the guy, his parents push him back, he goes around, comes in from another angle, his parents have to move to block him again, and he does it again. So he comes at him 3 times from 3 different sides, trying to throw a punch. I'm like, dude, you cold cocked this guy and got a lucky shot on him. It didn't faze him. You do not want this fight. Because this dude will eat you alive and spit out the fucking seeds.
One fight I got into when I was in middle school. Now, I didn't stick up for myself much in middle school. I had a really abusive stepmother at the time, no friends, so I just, tried to keep to myself. And there was this one kid who just loved picking on me. One of his favorite things to do was he would knock my books off of my table whenever I was in class. Like, before class started, he'd do it, and then when class was over, he'd try to do it again. Sometimes when I would go to the bathroom, he'd take my my backpack and throw it in a trash can. There's a few times he actually took it to a different classroom, so I had to go around looking in different trash cans of different classrooms.
You must have had the patience of a fucking saint back then, man.
I had quite the patience, and one day he broke it. And he knocked my books off the table, and I charged out of the classroom after him, grabbed him by the throat, and started just slamming him repeatedly into a brick wall while he's flailing at me with everything he got, and I just have him above my head, one arm, slamming him into a brick wall over and over again. And it took 4 teachers to get my hand off his throat. And after that, he decided I wasn't the person to pick on.
That reminds me of, there's this famous YouTube video of like this little kid like picking on like a fat kid, but this fat kid's like twice the little kid's size. And he's like slapping this fat kid pretty hard. And like, he doesn't realize that fat doesn't necessarily mean weak. Yeah, and this wasn't like a fat kid as in he was like a beach ball with little stick arms and legs. This was a big kid.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Oh, we've seen it before.
He like basically picks him up in the Zanga pile driver.
It's like, he's slapping this kid around. And he's slapping him hard. Like, you can see the fat kid's hair getting knocked up every time he slaps him. And like finally he like tries to jump on the big kid. And like at this point the big kid's had it. He's got this little spider monkey crawling on him. He just picks up this little kid like, and just fucking turns him upside down and suplexes him into the ground like fucking Bam Bam Bigelow on Saturday Night Main Event. And that little kid is lucky his skull didn't split open on that concrete. And I'm thinking, what have we learned? We learned that when you are 98 pounds, you don't pick up someone. I mean, you don't pick on someone that's over 180 pounds.
Yes, just a note to any teenage audience we might have. Yes, the fat people, they move and graze slowly amongst the fields of high school, but they're essentially carrying 5 backpacks that you aren't every day. And so when they finally have the motivation to do something, they have the strength to pull it off.
So that's one thing that people that kids don't realize is that big kids is like they develop muscle. You just don't see it. They develop muscle because it takes muscle to move around all that fat. It's like if you see a scrawny kid that's carrying like a backpack that's as big as he is, if not bigger, but he doesn't, he's not hunched over, he doesn't look like he's having a hard time carrying it, you generally don't want to fuck with them because if he's able to carry something that big and that heavy without it weighing him down...
He is all muscle.
Yeah. And it means, if he drops that backpack, if you've ever seen Dragon Ball Z and see when Goku takes off his weighted clothing, you are about to have a bad time.
Lee, take him off.
But those of you who are listening, if you're in school, just fucking don't get into fights. What's the fucking point? You got better shit to do. And you will realize quickly in life that there is no point to it.
Yeah, we joke around about violence solving problems.
Well, violence does solve problems, just not in the sense of fighting things.
Yeah.
If I can't get a fridge door to open right because it's been locked, I will wail the shit on the side of that refrigerator to get that fucker to open.
Yeah. But, if you're not getting your 20% off coupon at Long John Silver, slapping the waitress ain't going to cause any help.
It's no, if anything, if you're lucky, you'll just get out of there with a minor ass beating. If there's any justice in the world.
Yeah.
It's especially don't be causing shit in public places. Now, everyone and their grandmother has a fucking cell phone. You will be caught. They will find you, and you will be arrested.
Yeah. And nowadays, employers do check your Facebook.
Yes.
You actually have to sign forms that say that they can check your social media.
Which is why I don't have a Facebook, and I don't intend on making one. If we do end up getting a Facebook, it's going to be Fats that's putting it together, not me.
Yeah.
It's people, it's a lot of my coworkers and family are how come you don't have a Facebook? It's did you have fun getting picked on in school? It's no. Did you have fun with people randomly trolling you? No. Do you ever think that you spend too much time online? Yeah, well, sometimes. What of that sounds good? It's I dealt with enough bullshit in high school. I don't want to go back to the good old days of having people make fun of me because they have nothing better to do with their time. Having people fucking yell at me over the internet for shit that is not my fault and not my problem. And then have a bunch of families say, well, how come you said this? And how come you said that? And you shouldn't be saying this. It's fuck off. I do what I want online, and it's none of their fucking business. I don't plan on telling my family about this fucking podcast. And if they have any problems with it when they do eventually find it, that's too fucking bad. Why do you think I go by the name Angry? I don't fucking want my family to know I'm recording this shit. I'm going to be saying unkind things about them. And if they don't like it, fucking tough. Change your behavior. That way I won't have unkind things to say about it. But,
random thoughts. I want enchiladas. That's a random thought.
Well, speaking of that, we are about an hour, we're an hour, almost 35 into this recording. And so I think that's a good place, if any, to stop it. This was a good little recording. I liked where we ended up. We went to a lot of different places here.
And had no idea what half of them were. One of them was Denny's.
Like, we started with Denny's and we ended up with don't get into fights, kids. It's not worth it. Like, we went serious there for a bit, but you know what? Sometimes you need to.
Denny's, comic books, and morals.
And the moral of this story is drink your Ovaltine. Because little orphan Annie fucking told you so.
Yeah.
All right.
And eat your chicken skin donuts because Fat and Angry told you so.
So for now, we're going to go ahead and call it. Like I said, we're very happy that we got the first episode uploaded. I'm going to try to get them up once a week. I make no promises because editing them is not fun. And I am a lazy son of a bitch. So I will get them up there when I can. Hopefully someone will be listening to this still at that point. But in the meantime, this has been Fat and Angry. He's fat and I'm angry. And we are signing off.